Today is Friday, April 24th, 2020. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, North Carolina Congresswoman Alma Adams will join us to talk about the congressional response to the coronavirus. Also, Dr. Ebony Hilton, oh my God, y'all can't, she is like chomping at the bit after yesterday's disastrous, stupid, idiotic news conference of Donald Trump shooting disinfectant in humans. The sun? The light? What the hell? Oh, we're going to break it all down. Also, black women are disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. A recent poll shows that no matter what Trump says, people are not going outside. We tried to tell you, okay? We tried to tell you. Also, more than 200 women, black women, say, Joe Biden, you better pick a sister to be your VP running mate. Also on the show, the Supreme Court sends a brother back to Jamaica for a crime he committed a long time ago. Really? Ellie Mistel is going to be joining us from The Nation, folks. Unbelievable show. Woo! I'm ready to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
Shocking and stunning. We have crossed the 50,000 death barrier in the United States when it comes to coronavirus. Folks, more than 800,000 people, 901,216 confirmed coronavirus cases in the United States. 51,139 people have died from coronavirus. I remember when Donald Trump told us we had 15 cases and it will be soon down to zero. 51,000 people are dead. In his daily briefing, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo continues to give us the latest on COVID-19. Of course, they're decreasing in New York. Hospitalizations are down, but there's still issues.
Total hospitalizations down. Good news. 14,200. All the evidence suggests we're on the downside of the curve. We're headed down. Net change in hospitalizations is down. Net change in intubations is down again. And they have been down for a while. This is still not great news. Number of new people coming into the hospital, number of new infections is slightly down, but that's basically a flat line, and that is troubling. About 1,200 new, 1,300 new infections every day. Number of lives lost is still heartbreaking news, 422. Again, this is at an unimaginable level, and it's dropping somewhat, but it's still devastating news.
All right, folks. Today in Congress, Workforce Protection Subcommittee Chairwoman Alma Adams, she and Education and Labor Committee Chairman Bobby Scott, along with Congressman Don Shalala of Miami, introduced a bill that will protect U.S. workers from COVID-19. According to the CDC, more than 16,000 healthcare workers have been infected with COVID-19. In response to the reports of unsafe work conditions, the COVID-19 Every Worker Protection Act will require Occupational Safety and Health Administration to issue an emergency temporary standard that will establish a legal obligation for all workplaces to implement infectious disease exposure control plans. Joining us right now is Congresswoman Alma Adams of North Carolina. Congresswoman Adams, glad to have you back on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Thank you, Roland. It's good to be with you.
This very issue is what scares so many different people, and that is with these states moving to reopen, businesses are going to open. People are saying, will I be safe going back into the workplace? And unfortunately, it's the rules are sort of all over the place. It's really left up to businesses to what they should do.
Well, you're absolutely right, Roland. But even now, with the essential workers, as we call them, who are going out and helping folks like me and others who are working from home, who have been asked to stay in, they're going out and they're risking their lives, and they're not protected. The law that requires employers to protect their employees. So yes, with more people now, with more states talking about reopening, then that creates an even greater problem. I just believe if we're talking about people who are essential workers, we need to make sure that they have the essential protection. And that's really what this bill does, because there's nothing currently in the law that would cover something like viruses and airborne kinds of diseases. So so that's why we're asking that there be this temporary temporary standard, emergency temporary standard put in place, and that we would require that. Right now maybe you can, maybe you can't, but we have to have something that's enforceable to make sure that workers are protected, and those of us who are going out who may not be working are protected as well.
And so what would it actually cover? What will this dictate in terms of, these standards? What do they look like?
Well, basically, this particular standard, because of the COVID-19 and this virus that's circulating across the country, and there's no protection. I mean, we've got protections for things like domestic violence. Certainly is something that I support. But there's not much else that's protected that would cover something as significant and critical as this COVID-19. So and as a matter of fact, whatever comes up that creates this kind of crisis, this temporary standard could be put in place to cover that particular situation.
What about co-sponsors? Obviously, these are three Democrats. Are Republicans on board for this?
Well, right now, we have a number of co-sponsors, and all of our co-sponsors are Democrats. But I've got to tell you, this virus has no party connection. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. You can get it, and it can kill you. The Republicans who sit on the other side of the aisle need to understand that their constituents are at risk as well. They have health professionals who are out here working in our hospitals, working in our nursing homes, doing all these essential jobs, and yet they are not covered. So we're hoping they will come around. I mean, I'm hoping that many of their constituents will give them a call, tap them on the shoulder, tweet, text, whatever it is you do to reach out to them, because as I said, this is not a partisan issue. It is a life or death issue.
All right, Congresswoman Alma Adams of North Carolina. We surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
And thank you, Roland. Keep up your good work.
Will do. Thank you so very much. All right, folks. Today's White House coronavirus news conference lasted just 21 minutes, the shortest any of the latest news conferences. Donald Trump didn't take any questions from reporters. I wonder why. Could it be because he made himself look like a total clueless ass yesterday? Well, watch this.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning, because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me. So we'll see. But the whole concept of the light, the way it kills it in 1 minute, that's pretty powerful.
Like my man D Nice says in Club Quarantine, run that back.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me. So we'll see. But the whole concept of the light, the way it kills it in 1 minute, that's pretty powerful.
RB, y'all, the makers of Lysol, had to put out a statement saying, don't do that. Don't do that. Quote, due to recent speculation and social media activity, RB, the makers of Lysol and Dettol, has been asked whether internal administration of disinfectants may be appropriate for investigation or use as a treatment for coronavirus. As a global leader in health and hygiene products, we must be clear that under no circumstances should our disinfectant products be administered into the human body through injection, ingestion, or any other route. As with all products, our disinfectant and hygiene products should only be used as intended and in line with usage guidelines. Please read the label and safety information. Joining us is Dr. Ebony J. Hilton, Associate Professor of Anesthesiology and Critical Care Medicine at the University of Virginia. So yesterday, folks, while we were live on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Ebony starts sending me text messages. She said she was hot. What was the phrase, the country phrase you use?
I was 38 hot. But in all fairness, I didn't know what the actual translation for 38 hot meant. But even in reading on Urban Dictionary what it means, it still applies. I was just mad. We shouldn't even have to discuss this. Who would ever think we would be discussing why you should not inject Clorox or Lysol or Joy detergent or any of the above in order to keep your insides clean? That's not how this works. It never has. It never has.
Right, but it shows you. Okay, first of all, and I love this here. If y'all have the video, go ahead and play it. So today he goes, oh, I was being sarcastic.
Right.
I was being sarcastic to a reporter. No, he wasn't.
We saw it.
He looked he sounded like a dumbass, and everybody ripped him. Now you got conservative media trying to, oh, no, he was taken out of context, and it was, in fact, Kayleigh McEnany, let me see if I can find it. Kayleigh McEnany, the press secretary, she comes out and says, oh, it was taken out of context, yet Trump had already said, I was being sarcastic. So which is it? Then, Ebony, he looks over to Dr. Birx and other people, and then they actually are trying to make sense. At some point, they should say, man, hell no. That's crazy.
And it's one of those things for Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx and Dr. Adams, the Surgeon General. We took an oath to first do no harm. And when you hear something, to not speak up is also doing harm. So I am not going to let them off the hook. You need to speak up. And if it means you get fired, so be it. Fire me, and then I can hold a press conference at the same time. You're going to hold your press conference every day, too. But what I cannot allow is for you to sit here and use this platform that's supposed to be to empower the American people, and instead it be used as a way that we can literally kill American people if they follow your words. It is negligent, and people need to start remembering what the underneath title is besides being in the CDC and working under President Trump. You took an oath to be a doctor first. Do that.
Right, and this is in fact. Okay, I'm about to play this video here. So what they did was they actually zoomed in. They zoomed in on Dr. Burke's face. So I'm going to play it right now as Trump was talking, and it's just hilarious. It's hilarious because she's sitting there like, what the hell is he? Then she takes this deep breath and she puts it. She's like, what the hell is he talking about? I gotta sit here and listen to this. I gotta listen to this. What in the hell is going on? Ebony, explain it. I mean, this is. I just don't understand why they don't want to hurt his feelings. Oh, he's the president. No, this idiot is just, I'm not a doctor, but I'm really smart about these things. No, he just up there just throwing out any stupidity.
My mama used to tell us, if you didn't open your mouth, people wouldn't know how stupid you are. And that's the type of information I would like to pass on to President Trump. If you didn't speak so much, people would have no clue that type of thought process would actually go through your mind. And so holding these press conferences is actually probably hurting you worse than anything else in your terms of reelection. Because if anybody can elect someone that says that they think they can inject sunlight into your veins or inside of your body some type of way and to help your lungs be better, then we might need some type of test before you can vote. I mean, this has gotten to a point where it's actually ridiculous, and past the point of ridiculous is dangerous. And
then says, hey, I want y'all to test that. And like, man, we not about to test no damn disinfectant in the body.
I'm ready for somebody to flip a table. Or I'm not flip a table. I'm at least ready for someone to walk out, to say, that is not true, that's a lie, and walk out. Because again, we know that and now whether or not this person followed protocol to true form, but when President Trump was touting about hydroxychloroquine, and it was a man who decided to take aquarium treatment medicine or aquarium treatment as a cleaner that had the chloroquine in the ingredients list, and he died. And we're seeing now where the FDA had to release a statement saying, even for those who can get hydroxychloroquine in the medical form, we are not advocating that you take this at home in order to prevent COVID-19 infection. We know it has side effects. And in fact, there was a study that was just released out of the University of Virginia, where I work, where we looked at veterans at the VA hospital. And what we saw was that you actually had worse outcomes with use of hydroxychloroquine. So this is not a medicine that you can just take. It has some real serious side effects that we need to look and see. What's your past medical history? What other diseases do you have? What medications are you on? And how does it interact with those specifics of your body? So he needs to just stop. And I don't even know what subject he can stick to, but it's not that one.
And not only that, now, of course, the FDA is issuing warnings against this anti-malaria drug. Now we also know that a so-called quack out of Florida who came up with this bleaching crap sent Trump a letter this week. I mean, this dude is literally listening to quacks who are sending him letters, and he just goes out and spouts it out in front of the American people. And then he kept pushing the FDA. Now we know that he basically fired a doctor who did not want to move forward with this particular drug. Oh, Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity, who kept touting the drug. Now it's been almost 2 weeks since they even mentioned the drug. And so these games that people were playing, and so now all of a sudden, Trump won't even mention the drug after he was touting it every single day.
Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, we have Americans dying. And it's not just old people, we have babies. I'm sure you saw the report of the little baby that just died.
4 months
had a
old.
5-year-old little child that just died. And how is this being allowed to happen every day? And so if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see that I pretty much post every day. When is the 25th going to be called on this? Because it comes a certain point in time where partisanship has to fall at the wayside when American lives are being cost. And we are seeing overnight 2,600 people died in America. Right now, we have upwards of 1,500 that have died. And we have still another 6 hours to go, and not all the states have actually reported their cases for today. And so we are very much still in the midst of this pandemic. We have people listening to him about medications. We have people holding rallies and going outside to protest having to stay inside, which is the most privileged thing I've ever heard. And at the same time, in the last 5 days, we've increased our cases by 100,000 cases, and we've increased our deaths by more than 10,000 deaths. What is going to be enough for us as far as Americans? We, the people, we own this country. We should own this country. When are we going to say it's enough? That we don't want to die, and we want someone that we can actually trust to give us the information, not someone who makes up stuff literally as he breathes.
Okay, and then of course, we were treated today to these idiots protesting in Wisconsin because of the shelter-at-home rules. They are mad and upset. I'm going to play this video in just a second. This was some of the video that was shot on the streets there that people were posting. Again, people on the corners, at the state capitol, out there protesting, mad and upset, and you swear these people aren't paying any attention to 51,000 dead. And do they think they can't get it?
It's one of those things. I actually don't know. I think people know they can get it. I saw this interview where a guy was saying that he's immunosuppressed and he knows that he's at risk, but he's still out there to protest his liberty. And another lady had, give me liberty or give me death. And I was like, that's kind of ironic, because right now you may get your wish for both of those, in that you are not respecting the fact that this virus does not care if you live in a democracy or in a dictatorship. This virus cares about taking over your body so that it can live. And people are dying. In Wisconsin, for instance, today alone, they've had 5 people die, 262 people die altogether. They've had an additional 300 cases that's been reported. And that's with us not testing. And I have to say that over and over again, because people keep on making these predictions of when the peak and what model and whether or not their state is safe to open, where in Wisconsin, for instance, they've only tested 10,000 people per every 1 million citizen. You haven't tested enough. You have nothing to stand on to say whether or not your state is safe to open. And people have to realize that it takes one moment and you are gone forever.
Well, and that's really what you're dealing with here. You're dealing with people who are, again, they're getting their instructions from Donald Trump. They're getting it from these crazy conservative radio talk show hosts who believe that we've gone too far. And so what they want to do is say, okay, forget stay-at-home orders. There's no reason we should be doing all of this. And look, Ebony, I'm telling you right now, Doc, I keep telling black people, let them go out there. Y'all want to kill you? Go right ahead. Look, I'm not interested in trying to run out to these fools. I ain't trying to be in no bowling alley, no movie theater. They can keep all that they want to. Look, I love the Lord. I'm not trying to go to a church where you're going to have 2, 3, 4, 500, 1,000, 2,000 people sitting in the church, because we still do not have a handle on this. And I don't care what Donald Trump says, ain't buying it.
And it's one of those things, particularly for Black people. We are dying at higher rates. And yes, is it because of systemic racism and the predisposition that we now have towards these chronic illnesses? Yes. Is it because we have these industries in our communities that's causing our children to grow up with asthma? And is it because we have these food deserts, it's food apartheid, where we're not getting adequate healthy food options in our communities, and it's causing increased hypertension and our high blood pressure and diabetes? Yes, it's because there's no sidewalks in our community, and it increases the risk of obesity. It's an independent risk factor for obesity. Yes, but that doesn't take away from the fact, just because it is a targeted thing that is not right and that we must fix, it doesn't take away from the fact that if you get the coronavirus, your chances of dying are increased. And it doesn't take away from the fact that currently upwards of 70% of all those who have passed away have been Black and brown. So that being the case, I don't care what bowling alley is open. You keep your, you know what, at the house and stay where you're safe, because your family, your community, your nation needs you. But we need you. Your life matters. You know, we say Black Lives Matter. Let's prove it. Stay at home.
Right. Well, first of all, Dr. Ebony, you got to remember, Dr. Ebony, this is Roland Martin Unfiltered. What you want to say is, keep your ass at home.
But my grandma watching. Hey, Grandma Louise. My grandma.
Yeah, you know your grandma saying the same thing.
Right. Listen, she told us that we best not be in the streets. And it's true. But it is one of those things, like I said, this is taking our babies. When I saw the picture of the little 5-year-old girl, I said, you know, I think about my niece who's 4 years old. There's no way I would be able to forgive myself if I didn't say every single day that this is nothing to play with. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not G5 or whatever else the new thing is as far as these conspiracy theories. This isn't something that you can shine sunshine into your throat and hope that it goes away. This is a virus. It's called the coronavirus, COVID-19. It was first discovered in China on November 17th, and it's going to be here for a while. We do not have a vaccine, and even if we had a vaccine, it still does not preclude that you could still die from it, because as we see with the flu vaccine, it still kills people too. So in this time, until we can figure out a better way to treat you, stay at home so we won't have to, because we need you to be alive by Christmas, and that's my only mission, is to get people to see the holidays. That's it.
Well, we certainly appreciate all the work you have done, folks. Dr. Ebony Jade Hilton, she is Associate Professor of Anesthesiology and Critical Care Medicine at the University of Virginia. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
All right, folks. All right, then. Got to go to a break. We come back. 80% of Americans say, I ain't going outside, even with these orders. I'll discuss it with my panel next, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. All right, folks, ABC News did a poll where 72% of Americans say that they absolutely are in favor of stay-at-home orders and believe that if we move too quickly to get back to normal, will present a greater threat to our country. 86% think that social distancing and shelter-in-place orders are responsible policies. If restrictions were lifted immediately, about 80% of Americans say they will be more than likely to continue to avoid public places that draw crowds. I want to bring in my panel right now. Dr. Niambe Carter. She is the Department of Political Science at Howard University. Also joining us is Rob Richardson, host of the Disruption Now podcast, and Amisha Cross, political analyst and Democratic strategist. All right, to all of you, I'm telling you right now, point blank, I'm with the 72 to 80%. I don't give a damn. I live in Virginia. I don't care what the governor of Virginia do. My family's in Texas. The hell with Greg Abbott. Look, we are not sitting here playing games with this. We're going to let all these other people, all these other fools go out there, get themselves sick, go to the hospital. That's all right. They can keep that.
Like, there's nothing I need. There's nothing I need to do out there. If I can't do it from home, then it doesn't get done. Quite frankly, this is reckless. It's foolish. And I don't know what the point is of opening your state if you kill half the population that are going to be your consumers and your workers. I mean, I think this is nonsense. And I think when you look at some of these states and you look at the racial breakdowns in these states, and they've made some assessments of where most of these COVID outbreaks are happening. It's no surprise they're happening in many Black communities, in less well-resourced communities. And they say, well, this doesn't apply to me, so open the state back up. If a few more of these people are gone, then, that's no big deal. And I think people are right to be leery of any state motivation that is saying to do something in contradistinction to what the public health community is saying. I think everybody should stay home until further notice, because we're not even at the peak of this thing yet.
Amisha and Rob.
Yeah,
I agree with Dr. Carter here. I think that we're at a stage where it is extremely important to stay home. We definitely don't have enough tests. We still don't have the antibody test just yet. And we don't have a real way of knowing how many people are walking around asymptomatic who could pass this virus on to someone else and create some real problems. Secondarily, with as much as we argue for folks to stay at home, I'm also extremely worried about the essential workers, which are largely Black and brown people, lower income, underprivileged groups who are still out here working in your grocery stores, at various takeout restaurants, driving your Ubers, and they still don't have the PPE equipment necessary to do their jobs without essentially passing this thing on or having some real issues that they're going to take back home to their own families. I definitely don't think that it's time to open up any state, not just Georgia, any state in America, to regular traffic again, because it's not a safe time. We're not ready for that.
Yeah, and I mean, I actually agree with the panel, and I'll just say that it was great to have, Dr. Hilton on, but you didn't need to have an MD to actually talk about what this stupid-ass president just is telling people to do, to actually follow that advice. But I just say, we know we have a dumb, foolish president in office, but to quote Star Wars, who's more of the fool or the fools that follow the fool? So we got people like Fox News, we have Trump apologists out here reinforcing this or trying to justify this craziness, and that's what worries me. So look, we need to make sure people understand, you can listen to nothing that anybody anybody that still is supporting this president. I don't know what this is about. Do you like your tax cut that much? I don't understand. I just don't get this.
Well, I think what you're dealing with, again, let's just cut to the chase. Donald Trump desperately needs aggrieved white people to be mad and angry. That's what he needs. More so when you start looking at the data here, Joe Biden is killing him among older voters. Trump is pissing off older voters. And so he needs this anger, this resentment, and he needs these protests, because he knows that's the only way he can win in November, by riling up angry white folks. Especially
and
those
older voters have every
who
right
are
to
not
be upset.
college
Trump was
educated.
willing to risk their lives. He was willing to say, okay, well, we can risk hundreds of thousands of older people because the younger people are basically the ones who are the means of production in this country. It's extremely sickening. He actually said that if we sacrificed them, if they went out, that would be fine. Like, he did not care about older people in this country, which is extremely ironic because the majority of old white people is the Republican Party. They are the Fox News viewers. If you get rid of all of these people by virus or otherwise, who is left to vote for you?
And Trump don't care about nobody. Listen, he threw Governor Kemp under the bus. He would throw his own mama under the bus if it made him look good. He does not care about anything or anybody.
But but the thing about it is these people are happy if they think all the costs accrue to people of color, right? Correct. They think if all the other people get sick and all the other people die, then it's okay. And I think that's the part about this sort of drumbeat of white male in particular, but just white victimization, right? Is that if you keep telling people it's somebody else, and that it's those people over there, and it's those people coming in here, and it's these illegitimate people, right? These bad black people, these bad hombres, right, coming over the border. You can pick their pockets all day long, and that's exactly what he's doing. He keeps telling them that they are hurting. He keeps telling them that it's other people's fault. Forget that he mismanaged the economy, right? Forget that he is the one who sat on his laurels for months, knowing this thing was coming our way and did nothing. Right? But it's all those other people, right? This is why he's now going to these immigration bans and all of this stuff. Because if he can keep pushing the buck, right, and placing the blame on black and brown people, then he can let these white folks who are getting just as sick, right, who are also going to be finding themselves confronting this thing, he can make them believe that it was all these other people's fault. And that's exactly what he's going to do all the way until November.
I got a new one for y'all. So Jonathan Swan he tweeted, sent out about 36 minutes ago, that President Trump plans to pare back his coronavirus press conferences, according to 4 sources familiar with the internal deliberations. As soon as next week, he may stop appearing daily and make shorter appearances when he does, the sources said. They claim that first of all, the sources say it finally seems to have dawned on Trump that these briefings aren't helping him. And they say that this was coming up before his disinfectant comment. Nah, I think here's the deal. He was riding this deal. This news conference, these were his rallies. This is an opportunity for him to do what he was doing. No. The poll numbers are dropping because he is so dumb. And everybody, where are all the liberals who were saying, well, Joe Biden, you got to be out every day. This was Joe Biden. Now, I'm cool. Let him keep talking.
Well, he's
Go ahead, keep talking. Poll numbers came out showing Biden is up in Florida, up in Michigan, up in Pennsylvania, up in Wisconsin. And so Joe Biden, I kept telling everybody, no, there was no reason for Joe Biden to be stepping out there holding daily briefings because he had nothing new to say. If somebody what they say, give somebody enough rope to hang themselves. And Donald Trump, that's exactly what he's been doing. So this is no shock all of a sudden he wants to pull back.
Well, this is it's his job. He's the president right now, and I think Joe Biden is exactly right. Don't give him your ideas, right? Don't do his work for him for free. I mean, this isn't, I know people think about the campaign, but this is all COVID all the time, so I think it will be a waste of energy for Joe Biden. But let Donald Trump do his job. He's supposed to be the president, then he should be doing his job as the president. And I think Joe Biden did exactly what he should have done. Because let's be clear, he wouldn't have been able to suck a lot of the oxygen out of the room anyway. I'm still baffled why any of these networks are carrying this thing live every day, because it's ridiculous at this point. But they do.
Hey,
and so Joe Biden...
I say, Amisha, if these fools want to keep... Amisha, and if you want to keep screwing themselves, they should start singing Please Don't Go by Casey and the Sunshine Band. Because if he's going to start saying, hey, inject yourself with disinfectant, oh, Doc, let's just go ahead and let the crazy continue so your poll numbers can keep dropping to guarantee we bounce your ass in November.
Absolutely. These daily briefings have done nothing to help President Trump. In the beginning, there was a slight uptick, and we saw that just because there was the Rally Around the Flag initiative that technically Americans typically do when there is any type of disaster. And that quickly dissipated within a week and a half of him actually going live and doing these things every day. What Trump has done essentially was to try to attempt to use these as national campaign rallies, pseudo rallies for his base. And he has been ripped to shreds by making false claim after false claim, telling people about drugs that don't actually help, telling people about Clorox and all these other things. And it just seems ridiculous. He's tried to play pseudo doctor on television, and he's embarrassed himself and showcased just how poor his leadership quality actually is. Now people are dying. And we have an economy, the Trump economy, that was supposed to be the magic economy and the glory days of America, is shot to hell. We are now in the face of a depression that is greater than what we saw in 2008. He wanted to beat President Obama so bad. Now let's see him try to create a recovery effort that can actually get people back to work. Because even if everything opened up tomorrow, we still have hundreds of thousands of jobs across every state in this country that are simply not coming back. Where is Donald Trump's plan for that?
Yep. And a crisis usually helps.
I was sitting here. Rob, I was sitting here. And I was just trying to imagine what that discussion looked like in the Oval Office after he went out there and talked about disinfectants and the sunlight on the inside of the body and coming out through the skin. I couldn't help think this probably how the conversation went. I want to play from that scene from Menace to Society where you getting the sound now? Let me know if y'all getting the sound. When my man Bill Duke was so clean. Y'all got it now? Can y'all hear it? All right, well, I'll figure out what happened. But I love that scene when Bill Duke was like, no, you know you done fucked up, right? You know that's what you did. You know that's what you did. You know you messed up. That's the deal. The Republicans. You know you messed up. So why don't you just, you know, you just want just sit your ass down. Just sit down. But here's the deal. The reason I don't mind the crazy because I think every day this fool talks, Rob. Every day this fool talks, he actually makes it worse, and that's fine with me. Just like Mitch McConnell, Republicans are blasting him after he said, "Yeah, y'all can go bankrupt." Peter King of New York went off on him. So the crazy, I think people are seeing, and Joe Biden, by coming across as I'm just calm and they're nuts, helps him moving towards November.
Well, that's all you need right now. And, you know, a crisis normally helps a president, a normal president. We don't have a normal president. We have whatever you call that in the White House. So he's doing what has worked for him. It won't work this time because people are dying. I mean, they can't spin these facts anymore. They can't spin the fact that he called it a hoax. And now we're up to like 50,000 deaths. And in some counties, it's the leading cause of death in the United States in some areas. And so you can't make those facts up. No matter how much Laura Ingraham or anybody else tries to point to somebody else, you only got one person to point to. The fool you guys put in the White House, y'all president, not mine.
I don't even call him president. Let's just be real clear.
I'm
I don't
sorry.
even call
I
him
made
president.
a mistake. I usually call him the president occupant of the White House. Thank you for correcting me.
No, I don't do that because, first of all, I said if you don't respect the office of the president, I'm not going to show you any kind of respect whatsoever, and that's what he simply has not done. All right, folks, let's talk about black women who are really being impacted by COVID-19, and folks are being turned away from seeking medical advice. And so black women really are being stuck between a rock and a hard place. Joining us right now is Jocelyn Fry, Senior Fellow for the Center for American Progress. Jocelyn, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great. So let's talk about that in terms of, so what are you seeing specifically that's what's happening with black women and COVID-19?
Well, what we're seeing is that, black women, as many of us already know, they're really on the front lines in a couple of ways. First of all, they are disproportionately the workers. They're home health aides, they're nursing assistants, they're the cashiers in your grocery stores. So they're on the front lines in a quiet way, but yet they're, much more likely to be exposed to infection. They may not have the equipment that they need, and they may not have things like access to emergency childcare, right? Like they still have to be working even though their kids are home from school. So on the one hand, we see them on the front lines. But we also see them on the front lines at home, right? Like black women, much more than any other group of mothers, are far more likely to be the economic support for their family, either sole breadwinner or primary breadwinner. So they're at home, and they're also experiencing job loss. They're in the industries that are losing a lot of jobs, like accommodations and food service. So all of them impact women. And we're not spending enough time really talking about those issues.
All right, got questions from our panel. Dr. Carter, you got a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to know how you think about this sort of, because I read your report and it was quite comprehensive, but one of the things I noticed is that black women are also a lot of the population of healthcare workers. So you see black women as these working on the front lines as cashiers and other things, but also working in healthcare field. And if there was any more to say about sort of those women who find themselves in healthcare professions as nursing assistants and other things.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because, black women they're nursing assistants, they're home health aides, they are one of the top careers for black women is nursing assistant and registered nurses. So they're on the front lines in that way. And we've heard a lot of discussion about things like protective gear, and clearly they need those things just like any other health professional. But they also need access to other services. As I said, if their kids are at home, they need to know that their kids are safe. If they don't want to go home because they're concerned about bringing home the virus, and they may need access to things like housing costs because they're incurring additional expenses. We should be talking not only about how much they're earning, but they should be getting additional pay, premium pay, because they're putting themselves in hazardous situations. So I think it's important to recognize that a lot of times, Black women have a history of being caregivers, right? Like, we're used to Black women being the caregivers, but not really thinking about what are their own personal work family needs. We just want them to be there, and we just think that they should be there because that's what they've always done, and that's deeply rooted in our history. But it's important for us to think about Black women as not only the healthcare workers, but people who also have families. The last thing I'd say is that we also have to think about the fact that they don't earn the same as their counterparts. Black women consistently earn less than other women. They earn less than men. And that's deeply problematic in an environment when they are disproportionately more likely to be providing economic support for their families.
Thank you.
Misha.
Have we looked at the role that the healthcare system itself plays? Because study after study has shown that there is a high level of insensitivity when it comes to African Americans, specifically African American women, when we go to visit doctors. We're not getting the same level of treatment. When we complain and talk about some of the symptoms that we're having of certain things, we're either sent away or told, the wait and see approach. And if you're of another race or another gender, then you may be able to see, and you're often able to see and get treated for these things quicker. So we know pre-existing conditions are a major factor in whether or not COVID-19 actually really keeps you down and hospitalizes you. But for African Americans who aren't being treated well for their diabetes, for their blood pressure, for certain heart conditions, these are things that would happen whether COVID-19 was around or not. Is there a message that you have for the healthcare providers themselves?
I think you're absolutely spot on. That's exactly right. This disease is a terrible disease, but it does not happen in a vacuum. And we have to acknowledge that the status quo was already problematic. The reality is that communities of color, and particularly African American communities, have enormous number of disparities, health disparities, whether it's heart disease, whether it's diabetes, that makes them much more susceptible to the disease, and that now statistically being borne out. And you're absolutely right. There's a whole emerging body of research around Black maternal health, because Black women have such high morbidity rates when they're pregnant women. And it's consistently clear that part of the problem here is that Black women encounter bias, they encounter racism and sexism in the healthcare system. They're assumed that they can absorb more pain, that their symptoms are not real, that they're told just to go away and come back. And it seems not to be connected to whether or not they have a lot of money or not, right? So this is an existing problem in our healthcare system. And now on top of it, we have this disease that we don't know and we don't really know how to treat. And so I think what is clear, and this is a message not only for our healthcare system, but really the policymakers who are making the decisions, is that any interventions have to understand that. They have to understand that the playing field that we're operating on is not a fair one. It is one that is structurally biased along race and gender. And so our interventions have to address that in addition to making sure that people get the services that they need.
Rob, your question.
Yeah, so to add to that point, because you and Amisha have both rightly pointed out that COVID-19 has exacerbated current vulnerabilities within our society and current inequalities. What would you recommend as just some practical steps that we can make within the healthcare system policy-wise? You talk about policymakers, so we can make sure that we're holding, policymakers that say that they have our interests in mind to actually doing these things.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there are a number of things that they could do. First of all, every state, every community in this country ought to be tracking the disease by race and gender. We have some data that shows those disparities, but it's not consistent across the country. It's not always disaggregated. So we actually just don't know enough about who's being impacted, but we know something about the fact that communities of color, particularly African American communities, are much more likely to contract the disease and to die from the disease. So one practical thing is that we ought to have that data. We should have had it yesterday. We clearly ought to have it tomorrow. We should make sure that in terms of the services that we're providing, in terms of any access to testing, that we're making sure that the communities most affected, many communities of color, many of the hot spots are around communities of color, they should have those tests. They should be prioritized. We should be in those communities working with healthcare professionals. We should be tapping healthcare professionals from communities of color, including healthcare professionals of color who are sensitive to the needs of the communities that they're used to serving. We ought to be, even though training takes time, we ought to be training and working with all those healthcare professionals. Nobody should walk in the door and then be turned away from not getting a test if a test is what they need. And we should be, focusing extensively on making sure that the communities that are most at risk are actually getting the services that they need. I'd start there. To be sure, there are many other things that we can do in terms of supports for families, like access to emergency child care and things like that when people are at home. Those things are important too.
All right, Jocelyn Fry, Senior Fellow, Center for American Progress. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you.
All right, then. All right, folks. Going to go to a real quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk, the Supreme Court made a decision, 5-4 decision, sending his brother back to Jamaica. Wait till y'all hear the circumstances as to why. A perfect example on the assault on immigrants by Donald Trump and how that directly impacts black immigrants. That's next on Roland Martin Unfiltered. YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.
I would have never been able to raise 5 kids alone without this excellent job and the security of my union working closely with my employer to make sure that I got the raises I deserved, that I had the medical benefits I deserved, that my children needed, making sure I have job security, making sure that I'm overall successful. It's exciting to keep making a difference. It's exciting to just be part of such a great cause involving people, which is what I love to do.
Jackie Rodriguez's work as a pathology assistant doesn't just allow her to support her 5 kids. It's her way of making her community stronger. Behind every tissue sample is a real person, someone who needs her help. And Jackie takes that role seriously. Surgical patients will probably never meet her, but her precision and attention to detail are essential to quality health care. There are so many AFSCME members like Jackie who bring their A game every day. If you know one, and if you're blown away by their dedication to public service, please go to this website and nominate them for a Never Quit award.
All right, folks, Supreme Court issued this very, very strange ruling on Thursday. Well, they ruled against a Jamaican named Andre Barton in a 5-4 ruling. Barton, again, Jamaican immigrant facing deportation because of previous legal problems a long time ago. He's just one example of immigrants living in fear and how the Donald Trump administration is using the law to target immigrants, to deport them. And this is just shameful. Joining us right now is Ali Saddiq. He's with The Nation. He wrote about this, and the title is called SCOTUS Just Found a Way to Inflict More Terror on immigrants. All right, Ellie, this is, explain to people just these quirks in immigration law that they can use to deport someone in the United States.
This is one of the worst cases that I've ever seen. Andre Barton was a 40-year-old man. He owns a business. I think it's a car wash. He has 4 kids. He's been in this country since he was 10. He hasn't been back to Jamaica in 25 years. 10 years ago, he was busted for drug possession. That kind of followed the end of a series of run-ins with the law, and it seems like that last drug possession bust cleaned him up. He kind of got his life back on track. After that, he went to college. He graduated. Like I said, he started his own business. So he really turned his life around in the past 10 years. But in 2016, interestingly, under the proceedings started under the Obama administration, in 2016, they started deportation hearings against him because in our country, you can basically deport somebody for something they've done a very long time ago, kind of regardless of how long ago it was. There's no real statute of limitations on how long ago an offense happened. So in 2016, they started proceedings against him. Now, there was another out for him, and this is where the Trump administration distinguishes itself in terms of cruelty and also, like, absurdity. You can kind of, for people in Mr. Barton's situation, you can apply for basically an exception, right? Like, yeah, I did that, and yeah, you could deport me, but you're not gonna because I've lived here all my life and blah, 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 right? So he applied for this exception, but under, Jeff Sessions and Bill Barr, they said that he wasn't eligible for the exception, not because of the drug possession bust 10 years ago, but because of a crime he committed in 1996 when he was 17 years old. And that was what the actual Supreme Court case was about, with basically the liberals saying it is ridiculous, it is illogical to refuse to give him an exception based on this 1996 crime, especially because the 1996 crime is not something that we can deport people for. Like the drug bust was, but this crime in 96 is not a deportable offense. So the liberals were saying using a 1996 crime that wasn't even deportable to deport him is illogical madness. And the conservatives said, yeah, we don't care, we can do this.
A crime that took place 24 years ago.
Yeah, it was a firearms crime. I guess his friend allegedly shot at a house when the resident was home. That was the crime.
And so this is the thing that I have been explaining to people. When I see these black folks who are vehemently anti-immigrant, like ADOS folks, and yeah, I said it. When Donald Trump uses immigration to whip up his base, that his policies are impacting black immigrants, folks from Jamaica, folks from Haiti.
Absolutely, Roland.
We're sending back people to Haiti who are actually spreading coronavirus because they're not being tested before they're sent back.
Yeah, Roland, I don't understand. I'm with you. I don't understand African Americans who view immigration as some kind of threat to our status and opportunities in this country, especially because the anti-immigration forces are so relatively unabashedly racist with their enforcement of these policies. The thing that happened to Andre Barton never happens to Becky, right? A 10-year-old drug bust. Becky doesn't go back to Sweden because she got busted on a drug possession charge 10 years ago, right? So this only happens to people of color. And the other thing that I don't get, where some, and again, I think it's a small group, but where some African Americans seem to think that this immigration Gestapo is okay. The whole point is that the Republican forces want to be able to go in there and snatch you based on the color of your skin. They want to show you that they can kind of ruin your life and livelihood at a whim. And the immigration thing is I want to say separate, but it's just another way for them to get into your life and try to wreck it. And that's the fear and terror and really just, I don't know what the right word is, but, horribleness that these immigration policies kind of highlight, but they are then spread to the general community of color. For all intents and purposes, Andre Barton is an African American. Like, yes, he was technically born in Jamaica. He's been here since he was 10. I mean, to distinguish his American experience because he came here when he was 10 versus mine because I was born in Queens, it is just ridiculous to me.
And also what you're dealing with here is what I keep trying to explain to people when you hear the phrase elections matter. The fact of the matter is Republicans, let's be real clear, because Mitch McConnell has made it clear. They want to put as many federal judges on the bench who are between the ages of 35 and 45. They just confirmed some dude in October and who was recommended as unqualified by the American Bar Association. And they already want to put him on the D.C. Circuit, on D.C. Appeals Court, considered the second most powerful court in the country below the Supreme Court. That's their strategy. And if you are progressive, if you're a liberal, you had better understand that they know the power of the courts, and they are using it as an election ploy.
The man you're talking about is named Justin Reed Walker. Not only was he rated unqualified, he only basically has his job because he's an old pal of McConnell's family. McConnell's known him since high school, apparently. It's worth noting that in this Barton case that we're talking about, the judge who had the deciding vote and wrote the majority opinion in a 5-4 split was Brett Kavanaugh, which is ironic given that Brett Kavanaugh has also been accused of doing some very bad things when he was a teenager. And yet, and we just got through with the Kavanaugh confirmation, a bunch of Republicans saying, oh, it's so unfair to pull up this man's high school yearbook or history with drunken parties to deny him a job. Yet that man, Brett Kavanaugh, just banished a black man for a crime he committed when he was a teenager. Please understand, and I've said this to all the people I know who are a little bit disappointed that Biden's the nominee. They wanted somebody else. Biden was my, 18th choice, whatever. Doesn't matter. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is 87 years old. Stephen Breyer, another liberal justice, is 81 years old. Do you want to know the kinds of people that the Trump administration has waiting in the wings to replace those 80-year-old liberals? There is not a thing you care about in this world if you are left of center that can survive a Republican Supreme Court. Nothing on climate, nothing on guns, nothing on equality, nothing on taxes. Nothing survives a Republican Supreme Court. And that alone is enough for me to swallow it and vote for Biden, happily so. People need to understand just how our courts are teetering on the brink of a full, complete arch Republican takeover.
Ali Saddiq, The Nation. I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Stay safe, Roland.
Yes, sir. Going to our panel here. This is the thing that I have been laying out repeatedly, Amisha, that people watching need to understand. You heard all the issues Ellie talked about. I could throw on civil rights. I can throw on education. I can throw on environmental racism. The courts, they are the final arbiter. And if people sit around and say, yeah, but so-and-so's not perfect, this is very simple. Amisha, Donald Trump, Mitch McConnell, the evangelical right, the Federalist Society, they want to put on white men who are far right, who between the ages of 35 and 45, and if you use Ruth Bader Ginsburg as an example of what you just heard, if they are able to put on a 35-year-old white male on a Supreme Court to replace her if Donald Trump wins, that means that if that white man serves to, he's 87, she's 87, and he's 35, that is 52 years. That means that that person will be on the Supreme Court until the year 2075. I hope people see what I'm talking about.
Exactly, Roland. And that is the Republican long game. For all of the idiocracy that Donald Trump has and that he's brought to the White House and this nation by his presence there, the thing that he has done and the thing that he has followed the playbook for of conservatism is making sure that he made a long-standing change in the courts. He is there to ensure that that emblem of conservatism, not only in denying women access to abortion rights, but also ensuring that immigration all but stops in this country, and that we continue to see a lot of conservative ideals being thrust upon this nation, and that it doesn't turn the tide to progressiveness too far. Actually, that we rewind and take away some of the progress that we've made since the civil rights movement. That is President Trump's main goal. And to anyone who thinks that they don't support Joe Biden or Joe Biden wasn't their choice, hell, he wasn't a lot of people's choice as Democrats. But what you are standing up against is a president who is dead set on taking your rights away. And by simply having the option of appointing these Supreme Court justices. And mind you, Ruth Bader Ginsburg will not be there forever. I personally would give her probably another couple years. Her age is in that range. And it's a really sad thing for Democrats to believe that you can either sit on your laurels or that you cannot participate within this upcoming election. Because if we don't, we run the chance, and it's going to be more than a pretty hefty chance, of everything that we've worked hard for over the past 6 decades completely being dismantled. Because rest assured, Trump gets in again, he chooses Supreme Court justices, 1, maybe even 2, that are within that 35-40 age range. And like you said, Roland, that Supreme Court justice, that level of change and that level of, just that ability to spread conservatism is going to be there until the majority of us are probably not even going to be alive anymore.
Dr. Niambi Carter, I'm going to say this again because maybe people didn't quite hear me the first time. Let's say they appoint a 40-year-old judge who serves on the Supreme Court for the next, 40 years. That means that 2060, that person will be... I don't even think people even quite understand how serious this thing is when you start talking about their plan to control the district courts, the lower courts, the appellate courts. That's the plan. And Mitch McConnell said it on Sean Hannity's show. He said young men and women. Dr. Carter, they're even going to judges right now who are in their 70s saying, why don't you think about retiring so we can appoint somebody who's 30 years younger than you for your place? That's what they're doing right now.
Absolutely. Because it's a smart strategy if you want to keep the politics and policies that you care about in place, even though the nation is changing, particularly demographically brought by this same immigration that these people want to stop. Actually, my book is about this, right, about immigration and Black folks, in part because we know that 20% of the people that are being deported for crimes are Black people, even though Black immigrants as a share of that population are rather small. That happens because we surveil Black communities. We over-police Black communities. And so immigration is not a separate issue for Black people, and most Black people understand that. ADOS people are not, fortunately, the majority, but I think it's still worth reminding Black people that all the things you care about are all rooted in much the same white supremacy. So whether it's, what's happening with police with us, what's happening with the environment, immigration, all of those things are interrelated. And Republicans have always been very good at planning how to live beyond their demise because they are a shrinking part of the population. It's not that people aren't any more ideologically conservative, but people aren't Republicans anymore in the same way that they were, 30, 40, 50 years ago. So they know their time is growing short. So what are they doing? This is why they care about gerrymandering. This is why they care about the census, right? Because they know that if they can control those processes, then they have a much better chance of running the table. So this is why they have all these governorships, right? This is why they are able to switch states from blue to red, or states that were purple to firmly red, because they understand gamesmanship. And this is one more example. So while I can control, the gerrymandering process for a decade, I know I can control these appointments for a lifetime. And so they are very clear about what it is they must do to extend their life. Because most people don't believe in the things that these Republicans believe in, right? Most people don't want the things that they want.
Right.
And so they know this, and so they're doing what they can.
And to,
Rob,
very quickly.
Put in perspective again, my youngest niece or nephew is 12. They want to appoint justices that would be there until he turns 62.
Yep. And I'll just tell you this. Look,
I just need the people watching to do the math here. And this is not the Supreme Court justices. They want to put, Trump has appointed nearly 200 judges. If Donald Trump wins re-election, the Republicans very well would be in position to appoint a majority of all federal judges in the United States. Now, somebody watching, Rob, will say, oh, well, I don't know what kind of judge Joe Biden would pick. I can tell you that judge will not match the judges the Federalist Society are picking. So the vote in November is a vote on who will be federal judges and the control they will have over every law. And let me say again, every law. If you file a lawsuit in federal court that's against a city law, a county law, or a state law, it's going to go before these judges. This thing is real, and the folks on the right, they know it, and that's why they're voting that way. Rob, go ahead before I go to the next story.
Point you make. Very quickly, I just want to just express my anger to this case. As a lawyer, the mental gymnastics that was required for these justices to rule this way, this is what they said. They essentially said that we are going to deport a man for a crime he committed 20 years ago that he couldn't have been deported for 20 years ago. Like, what? So the fact is they worked to make sure he was denied his rights, and that tells you it matters. But I want to I agree with everything that you've said, Roland, that everyone else said, that this is a really important, why this is the most consequential election is really because of judges. But let me say, when we get in power, this still matters. Because, look, part of my anger here is making sure that when we get there, because if Joe Biden can't win this election, we got serious problems. We got real big problems. We need to be able to win against this type of president. If we can't, we got a lot of problems. But going forward, when he gets in office, federal judges, they need to make an aggressive push. Democrats don't play the long game. We're not as aggressive. We try to look for ways to work together and be reasonable. They push this hard. They're pushing this hard because they care about the long game. And then when you get executive power, look, this decision, as horrible as it is, what it tells me is that the Supreme Court has just given more power to the president. So I want to see when Joe Biden becomes the next president, he's going to do everything possible to be aggressive about this. I think and really do the opposite of what Donald Trump has done, because that needs to happen to make sure we actually keep winning elections. Because when we get the power, we need to actually use it and actually legislate like Republicans do. That's what I think.
Hey, I agree. Bottom line is, when you get the power, you do what you do, and you go hard. Mitch McConnell ain't apologizing to nobody. Mitch McConnell don't care what none of us think. He don't care. He's like, I'm going to ramrod this agenda, and you're absolutely right. If Democrats take control of the United States Senate, and I think when you start looking at the math right now, they very well can win Arizona. They can win North Carolina's seat. They can win the seat in Maine. There are about 5 seats they can win. Now you talk about it's going to be tough for them to win one of those 2 in Georgia, or even both of those in Georgia. It's going to be tough for Doug Jones to retain his seat in Alabama.
Great.
And then we can go to some other different states there. But there's a possibility. There are about 12 seats that are going to be in play. Democrats right now are leading in 5 of those. You gotta get control of the United States Senate to guarantee that you're able to control who gets picked in these federal judicial positions. And you're absolutely right, Rob.
And Roland, even if you don't, there should be a fight. I mean, I would have preferred, when President Obama lost it, when that seat was up, the one that Brett Kavanaugh has, there should have been all types of war. Can you imagine if George W. Bush had his seat and the Democrats said, no, we're not going to let you have a vote? There would have been a fight in the street. That's all I'm saying. Should have been.
Don't even remind me of that, because I was one of those voices yelling and screaming to Obama, don't you pick no old white dude, because ain't nobody going to be out there fighting for a white guy to the Supreme Court. And we already, in the history of the United States, you've only had 5 non-white men on the Supreme Court. 5. That's it. 5. I was like, man, ain't nobody out there fight. Come on, dog. I ain't even
going to the fact that he can reason with them. I picked somebody that they might like, and where was he at? I mean, Mitch McConnell is the same person. He hasn't changed. Like, and that's the point. Like, and like, we're voting for Biden, but I hope Biden understands that you cannot. Some things you can't compromise on. You have to come there being willing to fight, or we're going to have a lot of problems.
You have another Merrick Garland.
I'll take that back. That was 6. That was 6 non-white men judges: Thurgood Marshall, Clarence Thomas, Sandra Day O'Connor, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Elena Kagan, and Sonia Sotomayor. That's it, y'all. Yeah. In the history of the United States. Okay? 6 non-white men on the Supreme Court. Out of, I think it's 109 or 110. Huh?
You know, so this shouldn't surprise us, but I said this shouldn't surprise us. We've had just a string of white men in all these top positions. But I will say Rob is exactly right in the sense that, you know, what Obama did was let the Senate get away with not doing their job. Mitch McConnell flat out would not, right? And Merrick Garland sat there, and here we are. And so we have to be clear with Democrats, and Democrats need to be clear that you can't care about what other people are going to think, right? Because the Republicans certainly do not. And they are playing for keeps, and they are winning. And that's the scary part.
They are winning.
Yep, simple as that. All right, folks, we talk about playing for keeps. A group of 200 black women have sent a letter sent to Vice President Joe Biden saying, bruh, you need to pick a black woman for your vice president's position. The letter listed potential candidates such as former Georgia gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams, California Congresswoman Karen Bass, Florida Representative Val Demings, Ohio Representative Marsha Fudge, California Senator Kamala Harris, Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, and former National Security Advisor Susan Rice. Letter says, quote, we urge you to seize this historic opportunity to choose a black woman running mate who will fight for the issues that matter most to the American people and help deliver a decisive victory in a successful Biden presidency. Bottom line, Dr. Carter, here's, I think, why Biden is in a conundrum. He announces that he's picking a woman. So basically, if you're a man, you're off the list. Mm-hmm. But here's the reality. Biden, the only reason he is still standing is because of black people. If it was not for Congressman Jim Clyburn in South Carolina, Vice President Joe Biden's campaign for president would be DOA. He would be out of the race right now. If Biden picks somebody other than a black woman, what that is going to do is give further legitimacy to the people who say, here we go again, black people serving as sharecroppers for the Democratic Party and not being able to benefit from what they tilled. That's the conundrum he's in. He cannot afford a drop in black turnout. Hillary Clinton could not afford 2.4% drop in 2016. She's not president. She at home.
Absolutely.
He got no choice but to pick a black woman. I think Dr. Carter, he picks anybody else, he got a huge problem.
Especially if he goes for the Amy Klobuchars of the world. I mean no harm, but this is what Clinton did, right? She picked Tim Kaine, who's perfectly fine and non-threatening, but he's not going to get anybody excited. Now, I definitely think that people recognize the stakes in the race, and so people are probably going to be more inclined to show up in November than they would be. But, you know, I think it's fair to say, right, that black women have been clear since 2016 about what their expectations are of the party. It's not enough to have black women around, but not in the leadership. And so I don't know that all of those women on that list are all the same in terms of qualifications or even politics that women want. But it's clear that you cannot say you had no choices and you didn't know that there were any black women that you could have chosen. Because these black women have put out a list of people that they think you should at least consider, and they all should be vetted, because certainly if you just go for what you've always done, which is to pick the nice white moderate, and I think saying woman left it open enough, right? But I think it's clear that if you do this, there will be consequences. Maybe not at the presidential, but certainly in state races and others where it also matters. Because I just think Black women recognize this election is super critical, but there is no reason not to. And Joe Biden is going to need some excitement on that ticket.
Amisha, I'm going to say this again. I'm going to keep saying this. So if anything happens, they go back and say, Lord, y'all should listen. Joe Biden is going to have hell to pay if he picks somebody other than a sister, not a woman of color. Okay? I don't care. You can talk all you want to about the woman in Nevada, but the point blank is this here. He has no nomination without Black people. This is called a return on investment. And I think if you are Senator Kamala Harris, Congresswoman Val Demings, Congresswoman Karen Bass, yes, Congresswoman Marsha Fudge, I don't necessarily believe that Stacey Abrams is going to be on his vetting list. I don't. I think he got no other place to go. They cannot afford a drop in Black turnout.
I absolutely agree with you there, Roland. Black people, and more specifically, Black Girl Magic, helped and created the opportunity for Joe Biden to have the revival of sorts that he did in South Carolina and post-South Carolina. Without the Black vote clinching it for him, he would not have been the nominee, point blank, period. And at this point, Black women are saying, basically singing that Janet Jackson song, "What have you done for me lately?" They are wondering specifically what is going to happen and what is our value to the presidency, to the Democratic Party, if we continue to turn out, if we continue to put this agenda forward, if we continue to carry the water and bring everything forward for the Democratic Party and yet get absolutely nothing in return. In this era of COVID-19, where you see more and more Black people experiencing levels of trauma, getting hospitalized, having to work on the front lines, the people who are going to suffer the most when it comes to unemployment and the jobs crisis that falls out of this is those Black people, particularly the Black women who are leading households by themselves. This is even more fuel to the fire as to why it's extremely important to not only say that you're going to have a woman, but specifically choose that woman as a Black woman. And with the list that you just presented, the list of women that has been presented to Joe Biden, the short list he currently has of Black women as well, there is no shortage of qualifications available. No one can say that there weren't Black women who were ready, willing, and had everything in place to be as quintessential to this race. And I think that when you have a Black woman on the ticket, not only do you raise excitement, but you also increase turnout numbers, because Black women and Black people want to see themselves in the next administration.
Rob, and here's the other thing, Rob. It's real simple. One of the reasons why people touted Joe Biden from the beginning is because Joe from Scranton can appeal to the white folks in the blue-collar states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota. So why do you need a vice presidential nominee to appeal to the very people who Joe Biden is supposedly the one to appeal to? That's why the Klobuchar talk or the governor of Michigan talk makes no sense to me.
Yeah, look, I'm going to play the cynical role here, I guess, out of everybody here. I think that he's not going to, one. Two, I think he shouldn't have said at the very beginning that he was going to pick a woman, not because he shouldn't pick a woman, just because he's opening himself up to saying, well, why aren't you going to pick a woman of color, things like that. And he's opening himself up to say, well, you only chose that person because you're a woman. Select the person, run out with that person. And so that's just my point of view. But from there, I'll just say this. The fact is, I believe his candidacy was based upon what you just said. And I think a lot of Black folks voted for him for two reasons. One, he's Obama's vice president. That's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to give one more. And it's because they thought, for the reasons you said, well, we need to figure out a way to appeal to the moderate white vote. And maybe Joe Biden is the only person because he's the safest. So I actually think cynically, a lot of Black people aren't going to care about it. They're going to say, okay, well, maybe he did that and he needs to win and we'll just take the Supreme Court. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but I think his candidacy shows that a lot of people are just, they want to do everything and anything to get rid of Donald Trump, and they believe he is the best chance to do that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, Democrats have shown time and again that
I'm not saying that's my point of view. I'm saying I'm making an overall statement about how the campaign has gone. And I don't disagree. I mean, look, we've seen it, right? Democrats will do that.
they will pick the safe ticket, or what they think is the safe ticket, which might actually be a losing ticket. And I do think the stakes are so high that even if he chooses somebody that Black women don't like, and I'm one of the signatories on that letter, let me be clear, they're still going to show up to vote because we know what the stakes are. Nonetheless, it's sort of like, why do the thing that is the most obvious thing to do? Right? Because it's often the easiest. And I know that Democrats, we don't like to say it, but Democrats don't like to do the thing that is hard sometimes, or that's winning.
He's an old school Democrat. We're not talking about somebody. I mean, he's been in the game since it was the beginning of the Democratic Party.
Sure.
This is not. He's not a new school Democrat. So he's.
Absolutely.
I mean, you get what you vote for.
I wouldn't throw caution to the wind and say Black people will just show up either, though, because demographically speaking, when we chop this thing up by age, most younger Black people definitely would sit at home, even if Joe Biden is at the top of the ticket, depending on who the vice president is. And that is something that I think is something that his campaign has to take into consideration, and something that's not going to be movable. A lot of folks really want to see a candidate who has a strength that Joe Biden, they feel like, does not, and they do see that in an African-American female VP pick.
By the way, I agree with all your reasoning. I'm just saying I don't think they do. I think they are saying, well, we believe this, and we won the campaign, and we didn't have to worry about it, so why should he do it now? He's gonna. I mean, he's a very traditional old school Democrat. I agree with your reasoning, Amisha. I'm just cynical whether they're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they've shown that they don't mind picking. Like I said, that Tim Kaine choice was a waste of a choice for Clinton. Virginia was already going to go Democrat. What did he bring to the ticket? He was perfectly fine, non-threatening, but he wasn't interesting. And they have a chance to do it over. But we've seen time and again, the Democrats will do the thing that is safe. And so I appreciate Rob's point. And I think even for young Democrats, let's be clear, they didn't show up, then they don't show up in the same way that older people do. So I think, they don't necessarily make decisions based on those folks, but certainly because the margins were so thin in 2016, you absolutely have to have those Black folks and others show up, because that's what Joe Biden did for Barack Obama, right? He got Pennsylvania, he got Indiana, he got those places, and he needs somebody who can do the same thing for him. It just has to be much younger. A woman, I think, will be exciting. I think a Black woman in particular will do that trick for him, but who knows what they're going to do.
Yeah, I think Obama got those, actually. I just, I don't know. Like, I give Obama more credit than I do Joe Biden. I think they were a good team. But, Obama could bring people out, and people are trying to recreate the Obama coalition. That's Obama's. It looks like nobody else has that. So we just, they have to win this election. Bottom line is, this is not an argument against Joe Biden. This is my observation of the Democratic Party, and I hope I'm wrong.
Well, we shall certainly see. Okay, I do have to ask you all about this here. The NFL draft took place last night. And let's just say if you were the girlfriend of the cats drafted, you ain't really have a good night. It was a trip watching all of these things play out, watching, of course, folks going live from the homes. The one piece of video that's getting lots of discussion is this one right here, where Isaiah Wilson out of Georgia was drafted, and I'm just gonna play the video, y'all, just so we can talk about it. So watch this here. So here it is. Now I don't know who Becky is hugging him on his lap, but Mama was like, move. And then Becky got a little slow, and Mama move. The camera on us, girl. Y'all, Mama was not playing. It was, of course, you also had the other football player where his girlfriend took one of his phones. He was like, took the phone back. Rob, I'm sorry. The one where Mama threw Becky, Mama was like, hey, girl, you got to move.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what she was thinking, and what he was thinking. It was at the house, but I don't know. That was quite interesting. I'll just say this: as a suffering Bengals fan, I guess we got the number one pick, and I just hope that young guy doesn't ruin his whole career, because wow, the Bengals are a rough organization to watch. So we'll see. Maybe they'll make them better. But in terms of the Becky, I don't know. You might want to just be a little more careful.
Look, Amisha, I'm sorry, I couldn't help but crack up laughing because the mama was like, "Baby, I need you to move. I need you to move." Then the girl mama's like, "I need you to move your ass out the camera angle."
I watched this live and died laughing because the mom was very calm the first 2 times she tried to get this girl to move because this is a family moment. Ma'am, you're not a fiance. You're just a girlfriend. And by the time he gets to the pros, you probably aren't even going to be that. Let's move on. And the girl would not get up. So mom basically just like came deboed her, removed that whole body to where it needs to be, not in the family picture shot. I think that, overall, these are black athletes. They know that they're about to be superstars. It's a huge moment for families who have, fundraised for them, who have paid for the cleats, who stayed up those long hours, who made sure that they were going to be best served as the athletes that they were going to grow up to become. This isn't a moment for the girlfriend to shine. And to your point about the second video, the one with the guy with the cell phone, turns out, funny story, Twitter has a whole bunch of receipts. This girl has been in 3 separate NFL draft videos because she picks a different black man every year.
Ooh. Well, I think one you're talking about is video I'll play right now. So CeeDee Lamb, Oklahoma wide receiver, got drafted. And so watch this video here, y'all. Here we go. Watch this video here. Okay, but look at his mama. Okay, his mama's sitting to his right. We're going to play the video again. And watch this here. Watch the mama. The mama looked like, girl, did you just take your man phone? And, like, And the girl looking all shocked, and now she looking all sheepish. Like, I can't believe he did that. And she looking around like, I hope nobody else saw it. He snatched my phone. Boo, we all saw it. Boo, we all saw it. Dr. Carter is all over the place. Everybody saw it. And she tried to go on Twitter and say, oh, well, he was on the phone with the team, and his agent was calling on FaceTime, and so I was trying to help him because he should answer the call, and then he took it back. Just
listen.
Stay in your lane.
We all have caller ID on our iPhones. It's fine. He can handle it. He's a grown man. But I will say, Mama should have got a contract last night. I know those hands, and they don't play. And so she moved her right on out the way, and just like he grabbed his phone back, so we know why he has that contract. I think, we should do this more often. I've never watched an NFL draft, but I will definitely make sure I watch one after now. Because they were. Well,
I don't know. We don't know if they're going to go virtual. We don't know if they're going to go virtual again. But all I'm saying is, you know what?
They should.
We watched the girlfriend, Dr. Fool.
I gotta watch Big.
Project Protect Your Sons, because these women have their claws.
I gotta watch Big Mama move Becky again.
And the 18-year-olds aren't ready.
I gotta watch Big Mama move Becky again. Y'all. I'm telling you, just what y'all. Mama was like, move!
She almost got an elbow at Mama. You better be careful.
Hold on. We're going to run that back. Here it go again. Okay, so Becky, she go in for the hug. She know the camera's on them. Oh, you got drafted. And then Mama's like, get up. And she's like, oh. And now she resisted. Mama's like, I need you to move. Y'all, I don't care what y'all say. And you see Big Mama, you see her going, and look, I need all y'all to like chill the hell out. Because none of y'all asses here when I birthed him. Wasn't none of y'all feeding him when he was in elementary school. So get your ass off the camera when it's showtime. That's really what Mama was saying. That's the translation of what Mama was saying, Rob.
Yeah, and look, and I'll just say this. Hey, look, get a good financial advisor. Protect your assets. Do not assume that you're going to keep making money, because people will take your money. All those people in that room will find ways to spend all of your money real quick. And you can have $1 million. You have $1 million and lose it. Ask Adrian Peterson, who had $100 million, $100 million, and he's bankrupt right now. So that story happens more often than not. So do not lose your lose your coins over some foolishness. That's all I got to say.
Absolutely, Dr. Carter, Amisha, as well as Rob. I appreciate y'all being on my panel today. Thank you so very much. Folks, I'm going to go to commercial break. We come back. Comedian Ali Saddiq will be in the house. I can't wait to hear what Ali got to say about Becky trying to get all that FaceTime with the NFL draft. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Back in a moment. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. All right, folks. My man, comedian Ali Saddiq from H-Town. Is he there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Is Ali? Ali, what's going on, man? Glad to have you here, y'all. Comedian Ali Saddiq joins us right now. Glad to have him in the house. Roland Martin Unfiltered. You're looking real black with your backdrop.
Hey man, I'm real revolutionary right now. Let's talk about the elephant in the room first of all, Roland. Me, I am the elephant in the room. I have never gained this much weight in my whole entire life on a quarantine. I done been in solitary before, and you don't gain this weight. You shrink down. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing something wrong. I'm staying in the kitchen. I'm eating everything. That don't even go together. You know what I'm saying? I'm just fat right now. Now, other elephant in the room. I don't know why. One thing I was concerned about, didn't nobody had no mask on during these NFL drafts. It wasn't nobody social distancing themselves. Mama about to catch the COVID, slinging some white girl around that's by the couch. It's crazy. I'm watching the draft like, man, and just sitting there as a concerned parent. Like, look, ain't nobody got on nothing. Ain't no gloves on. Ain't nobody 6 feet away from nobody. The white girl right there in his mouth. Ooh, you just got drafted. Mama like, hey, slide this way. What's up, y'all? Y'all see what I'm doing? You see what then, you know, the girlfriends was taking it on the chin. The girl, I must say that. Girlfriend was taking it on the chin. Now what I want to talk about, Roland, Dan Kirkpatrick. He just said that you supposed to sacrifice Big Mama, you know what I'm saying, to get the economy rolling. You know what I'm saying? The man just come out and say somebody gonna die. Look here, we got to get this money rolling. Somebody gonna die. That's the sacrifice. That's what war is. It's like war. I said, man, what is wrong with this man? I'm not sacrificing my Big Mama, you know what I'm saying, for the economy. I can't do that one. Now we got a retarded.
Now, first of all, for everybody who's watching, y'all heard Ali say Dan Patrick, not Dan Patrick, the sports announcer, but the idiot lieutenant governor of Texas, governor of Texas, Dan Patrick. That's the fool who said, I'd rather die than change our way of living, which is about the dumbest thing you ever heard in your life.
I'd rather die than change my way of living. Well, if you're dead, Dan, the way of living is changed. They ain't even got a place to put some of these bodies. Don't y'all run out there and get no haircut or no massage. Now, hold on. Now, they saying that black people are the ones who go into the hair salons and gonna go to the nail shops and the barber shop. Wait a minute. The mayor of Beaumont, Texas, she got caught. Becky get caught in the coming out the nail salon. And you know Becky lied. Becky straight lied. Becky said, hey, I wasn't getting my nails done. I was just soaking my fingertips in acetone.
We get a lot of feedback.
From who, me?
First of all, Ali, I'm telling you right now, the thing that for me is just still the absolute craziest out of this. All these white folks out here protesting, talking about opening back up, and I'm sitting there going like, look at here. Hey, if y'all want to start dropping dead, hey, y'all can congregate. Y'all can have y'all Klan rallies. Y'all can go to the bowling alley. Y'all can do whatever y'all want to do. All I'm saying to the black people, if y'all work at any of those places, tell them, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take that unemployment because I am not going to walk in there and y'all not wearing masks, not wearing gloves, and I'm going to catch something because y'all stupid.
Roland, I got a plan, Roland. You know, in Arizona, they spending money putting homeless people in hotels. See, now, since I done gave you a bed, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to recruit some homeless people, and you see that protest, go over there and just start sneezing and coughing on everybody. Just go over there and start watch them white folks scatter. Watch them scatter. I don't even understand why you want to go back to work. I've been needing a vacation. You know what I'm saying? They out there protesting to go catch the disease. White folk wild, man. But let them go out there. But I know one thing, Becky talking about she was just dipping her fingertips in acetone. Where I'm from, that's called getting your nails done, Becky. That's where I'm from. It was then she gonna try to lie about it. Now your president that came up with the cure, people. The president that came up with the cure. It's called hot light, sunlight, or he say you can take you some bleach or some Fabuloso. You know what I'm saying? You gonna have people. Is that me feeding back?
Now, I'm not quite understanding that one. Where this fool stood up there, Ali, talking about some bleach. And then try to come out today. I was just playing. I was being sarcastic. Y'all taking me seriously? No, you embarrassed because he went back. Because, all he does is watch TV. I mean, Ali, do you realize the man don't even show up to the Oval Office until noon or 1 p.m. He watches TV for 8 hours in the morning before he go to work. That's his job. He watches more TV than a television critic.
Hey, you understand that, I know things. I have what they call a brilliant, you know what this is. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, hairstyle, stylist, dye artist. I'm like, the man is, first of all, I'm willing to bet that Melania had it. Because ain't nobody seen her in 30 days. You know what I'm saying? Then she come out for Earth Day. You know what I'm saying? Looking weak, looking real fragile on Earth Day. She probably had it. You know what I'm saying? He probably got it and ain't said nothing. You know what I'm saying? Just walking around just coughing on pence. You know what I'm saying? This is a weird dude. Now, the funniest thing that the man said, you can take Lysol. Now you're gonna have people tying off, just injecting Lysol in their vein, because white folk listen to whatever he say. And then he telling people that the media, first of all, I don't have to answer no questions because you are fake news. The man sitting there like, I know a lot of them reporters want to whoop him. I know a lot of them reporters want to whoop him. I couldn't be the one. I'm sitting there trying to do my job. So, sir, what do you think about this? First of all, I don't want to talk to you. Don't say nothing to me. First of all, if security don't get to me, I'm gonna slap that little hairstyle out here. I'm gonna slap your flip to the other side. Man, I don't even understand how people even putting up with how he talking to folks, man. He talks so reckless. Well, man, he told a lady, "Are you CNN? Are you CNN? Don't say nothing." And then look, but this is the type of move that I pulled. I don't want to listen to somebody. He just did like this. She's still talking. Somebody tell her to be quiet. Is she talking to me? Somebody, that lady was still talking. And like I said, sir, it was like, that's black. See, that lady had a splash of black argument in her. Now, other thing, bro, I don't know a lot about my kids. I'm just gonna say that like that. I didn't know that my son didn't like taking baths. I didn't really know that. And he lied about these baths too. Then I took a bath. And I say, son, let me tell you something. Your soap got to get smaller if you're bathing. You know what I'm saying? Your soap got to get smaller. He's talking about, I'm talking about, I open a bar of soap. I got one. He got one. I put one in his room. I done used mine. Mine is down. Mine's slim. He in there with the same size bar of soap. And then, so I did the alcohol test. When I got a cotton ball and just rubbed his face. If you talk about mud, I'm talking about, hey, man, you're muddy. You need to clean yourself.
Not dirt, mud.
Yeah, that's mud. That's what you call mud. I showed it to him. That's what you call mud right there, sir. You know what I'm saying? He's like, and then this I love kids' expressions when they got busted, because he looking like this. He looking at it like, let me see. Let me check that out. And what's that? Man, that's you. That's you, little dirty boy. Going on. It's your little self. Now, my wife.
Now, Ali, you said you've been gaining all of this weight, because every damn time I see you go live on Instagram, your ass at the blender and in the kitchen.
Hey, man, my kitchen is big. It's like, I think it's bigger than I thought it was, because I can't get past it. I can't get past it. Coming or going, I can't get past it. It look like something that's always in there. Do you know this, Roland? Fans are complaining. They say that the fans are running out of patience because some of these sports leagues haven't canceled games yet. I'm saying it's a weird thing to me. You still holding on to tickets? It's a wrap, people. Ain't no more games. Ain't no games. Ain't nobody having no game, man. It's gone, pack it in. This those people who hold them tickets are like, Roland, you ever seen somebody, you pull up to a place that you thought was open and it's closed. And it's closed. You got it say closed on there. It's boarded up, but you still get out. Still get out the car and look in the window. Now I know there's somebody in there. It's closed. It's closed, man. Vinegar's been closed. It's gone. It's a wrap. Go home. Bro, I'm talking about go right up to that window, man. I know they got something up in there. No, they don't. They closed.
Now, I got to ask you this here. Because nobody can work, you don't have concerts, you don't have comedy clubs open, you don't have any gatherings. We are seeing a whole lot more of celebrities going live at all hours of the night. Who in particular is really getting on your nerves with their Instagram lives?
Oh man, I'm really tired of Dean Ice right now. I'm tired of Dean Ice. You know what I'm saying? Dean Ice, because can't nobody else get no other people.
Dean Ice, really?
Can't nobody else get no other people, Roland. I got a comedy show tonight that starts in about 35 minutes. I can't get nobody because Dean Ice always go on right at the time I'm jumping on. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey man, and people be in my thing talking about, Dean Ice on. First of all, this is a comedy show. This ain't got nothing to do with no Dean Ice. Dean Ice. Who else I'm tired of? It's some people I'm tired of that you may not even know. People just on there just. First of all, this is what I'm tired of, Roland. This is okay. I'm finna say it. I know I'm gonna get in trouble, but this is what I'm tired of, Roland. I'm tired of people being on Instagram Live and you ain't got nothing but 2 people on there listening to you. First of all, it should be some sort of rule.
Come on.
It should be some sort of rule. If you on for 10 minutes,
Ali, if it's 2 people on your Instagram Live, that's called FaceTime.
You might as well FaceTime them people. If you can do a group FaceTime too with them people. If you holding up data or data, whatever, however you pronounce it, you're holding up space. You know what I'm saying? I can't get on because you on there talking to 4 people about your culinary aspirations. Man, go on. Sit down somewhere. I think it should be a rule. If you on for 10 minutes and you don't have more than 20 people, they ought to shut you off. And I'll be the one sitting there with the plea. I'm like, hold on, let me see. Jonathan, he's been on for 20 minutes. 3 people. Cut him off. Okay, Roland. Roland's been on for 35 minutes, 106 people. Okay, keep him going. Kim. Kim is naked and she has 3 people. Cut her off. I'm like, I don't understand it. I don't understand it, man. And let me see what else going on this Instagram Live. People raw. Did you hear about Lil Bootsy? Lil Bootsy, I don't even think his account back up yet.
Bootsy, Tony, what's the boy name? Hold up. Trey from Houston. Trey from Houston, his IG live's been a little raw.
Tory Lane, Lil Bootsy. I'm talking about them boys on there going live. You like, and it's, are they sending money? I don't know if they sending money. Are these women just with the aspirations? Are they gonna get virtual money? And it's like, I can do that. If you think you're gonna get virtual money, come on over here. We up to 30,000 virtual dollars. Like I send some money. This is crazy. Women out here. Trey is actually cash apping the women who come on. Ooh. See now look, Roland. Now I know this ain't supposed to be a part of the demographics, but see, that's how people start to learn virtual pimping. See, I get me a little ring of girls and get their little Instagram, and I'll be right on there. Hey, going on there. You know what I'm saying? And as soon as he cash app it to you, it won't even be their cash app. It'll be my cash app. You put my cash app up. I'm Tina Jackson. You know what I'm saying? I had 7 of them out there working the virtual stroll for me. I'm a hustler. I start thinking like that.
Now you mentioned D Nice. So I did this a couple of weeks ago. I love music. Everybody know I love music.
Yes, sir.
And and D Nice my man. We go back. He's my boy. Love him to death. But you from Houston. I'm from Houston. That's the Gulf. That's dirty South. I mean, you name it. Atlanta ain't dirty South.
No, it ain't.
Houston, Louisiana, Mississippi. I mean, that whole Gulf Coast. So last night, and I don't even drink, Ali, we did Club Brown Liquor.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
And that is Club Brown Liquor. And it's the songs that you got to play where, first of all, if you ain't never heard of a setup, we got a problem.
Where you from that you ain't heard of a setup? You know what I'm saying? That's cup, ice, and whatever chaser you want. I'll bring you a setup, Sprite, orange juice, cranberry. You know what I'm saying? That's a setup.
A setup, first of all, y'all, is a what? See, for all y'all who don't know what a setup is, a setup is when you bring your own alcohol to a joint.
Your own
but they
liquor.
sell setups.
I got everything
It's
else.
a white bucket of ice.
I got your Coke.
It's a what? First of all, you got your cherries, your lemons, your limes, your toothpicks. That's your setup.
I got your ice. I got your orange juice, cranberry juice, and Sprite, and Coke.
That's right. BYOB, baby. And see, the thing is, Ali, again, being from Houston, we hear it's Zydeco, it's blues, it's soul, it's all of that. And it's the people who love Marvin Cease and Clarence Carter and Lattimore. I mean, that's juke joint lounge. That's Joe Tex, Joe Simon. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm talking about where everybody got a razor blade. Everybody got a knife or a razor blade somewhere on their person, just in case something get out of hand. My uncle used to have a Derringer in his boot. You know what I'm saying? Just in case something jump off in the setup. When you at a BYOB, somebody dressed alike. See, and that's how you get into it. The man and the woman dressed alike. You know, you ain't supposed to talk to nobody, trying to talk to nobody, woman who dressed just like them. If you see somebody in red, you got to look around and see it's another red outfit in there with a hat on, and that's his lady. You got to leave that alone.
Now, when we talk about brown liquor music, even when you have house parties, when you are a kid, you are the runner. Your job is to keep everybody topped off. That way, you don't interrupt the spades, bid, whist, or domino games. That's why you first started smoking, right?
I go deeper than that. Yeah, I used to be. That was my job right there. They playing cards. My job is to bring ice, Crown Royal, N.J. Wellers. You know what I'm saying? And light cigarettes. You know what I'm saying? My aunt and them smoke Benson Heads and menthols in the box. You know, I used to have to go light the cigarettes. You know, when you light a cigarette back, I don't know what it was back in the early 70s, people who smoked, they didn't own matches or lighters, so you had to light all the cigarettes on the stove. You know, you light a cigarette on the stove, you got to roll it a little bit, then you got to pull to make sure that it's even. You know what I'm saying? Now, after you 6 years old and you done lit 3 cigarettes, now you really in the kitchen smoking. It's stressful, boy. You just run a cigarette.
Oh, man. Ali, it has been fun having you on the show. Hey, tell everybody about your CD. I did the intro for it. Tell them where they can get it. Also give you Cash App.
The prison manual. The prison manual. He did the intro for it. Roland was amazing on there. You can get it on everywhere you can download something. Tidal, Spotify, iMusic, Apple Music, Google Music. Anywhere you can download, you can get my album. You know, and I have 6 of them, so you can get that. My Cash App is Speak Ali Saddiq. Hey, thank y'all for having me. I'm finna go over to my page right now and do the Corona Comedy Club tonight. George Wallace, Pierre, and Malik S.
All right, y'all. So again, Speak Cash App, Speak Ali Saddiq. You gotta spell Saddiq because you don't just leave it to chance, man. They're gonna sit in under somebody else.
Sadiq is SIDDIQ. So that's Speak ALISIDDIQ. Because, you know, folks will send that little change to somebody else.
Ali Saddiq, my man, I appreciate it, bro. Thanks a lot.
Black Power.
Thanks a bunch. All right, y'all. And again, at midnight tonight, midnight Eastern, Tamika Mallory, she hit me. She said, yo, you got to do Club Brown Liquor again. So at midnight, we're going to live stream on Instagram Live, and I'm trying to work it out to where we can stream it just like we do the show right here on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, Twitch, and IG Live. I just want to make sure the technical stuff right because my name is not Teddy Riley. Okay, all right, y'all. Here are the people who have joined us in the last 48 hours. Our Bring the Funk fan club. I told y'all, everybody who gave $50 or more, I was going to give a personal shout out. So let's go. Eddie McCaskill, Angela Renee's Home Car LLC, which will be Home Care LLC. Anissa Perkins, Anthony Means, Bernice P. Harris, Beverly Sanders, Brandon Hawkins, Bridget Harrington, Kathy's Avon Corner, Candace Hill, Craig Wilson, David Coleman, Deborah Orr, Riles, Derek Edwards, Ellis Lopez Travel Partners LLC, Frank Jones, Georgia Brown, my frat Gerald Albright, Gregory Luma, Imani Nickens, Jacqueline Milton, Jeanette Brown, Jerry Mangum, Joyce Nichols, Jonathan Neal, Josephine Winfrey, Joshua Roberson, Karen Boykin Towns, Vice Chair of the NAACP, thanks Karen, Katricia Nolan, Kalia Williams, Law Intake Corporation, Lori Pace Johnston, Lucretia Holden, Marguerite Eccles, Michael Bankston, Michael Harper, Mignon Clyburn, Congressman Jim Clyburn's daughter. Appreciate it. MTFXS8. I don't know. Nikki Harris, Parents Coaching Parents Network, Patrick McGee, Patriots for Families, Peters Full Stack Applications, Progress for All, Ralph Craig, Ralphus, R.C. Carter, Reg Hammond, Reginald Fields, Ruby Ferguson, Sharonda P. Cone, Sula, Terrell Currington, Terry Jackson, Timothy Hopkins, Tracy Mayo, Victor Mitchell, and Vivian Burns. All right, y'all. If you want to join our Bring the Funk fan club, all you got to do is Cash App us. You see it right there. Right there. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is paypal.me/R Martin Unfiltered. You should see it right there. If you want to use a credit card, simply go to our website, RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can use Square. If you want to mail us, hit us at New Vision Media, NU, Vision Media, Inc. It should be a graphic up. If y'all don't have it, got to get that graphic, have it for Monday. 1327 West Washington Boulevard, Suite 102B. There we go. Chicago, Illinois, 60607. That's where you can actually make it payable to New Vision Media. Here's the deal, y'all. Your dollars make it possible for us to do this show, for us to be able to have the guests we do, the panelists that we do, for us to do this show live 5 days a week. And so we want you to support what we do. We've got to have a place where we have our black experts. Dr. Ebony Hilton. Dr. Ebony Hilton is off the chain. It's people like her. The other guests we had today, Congresswoman Alma Adams. We had Jocelyn on for Citizens for American Progress. Y'all, let me just be real clear. You are not going to see that many black experts talking coronavirus on a cable network for the whole week. We have more black experts in one day they have in a whole week, some of them in a whole month. That's why this show matters. So we appreciate all that you do. You can also go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com and you can get access to our gear that we also sell as well. And don't forget, folks, again, you can join us. If y'all are watching on YouTube, you can also give there as well. And so, again, we need your support. Our goal by the end of the year is to get 20,000 of our fans who are giving annually for $50 or more. Those of you, though, who have given less than $50, every dollar counts. And so I've seen donations as high as $5,000. I've seen donations as low as $1, $5, $10, $25. It don't matter. We appreciate every dollar. We appreciate every single one of our fans. And so at the end of the show, every Friday, we roll the video of all of our donors to Roland Martin Unfiltered. And so what I want to be able to announce 200 more on Monday. I want to announce at least 200 more at $50 or more. And again, this is all about giving us an opportunity to stay unfiltered, independent, not corporate owned, and for us to give you the kind of news and information. Yo, that discussion yesterday, Black Women's Roundtable, 90 minutes of sisters talking about the power of the black vote. Last week, what we did with the largest committee for civil rights under law, talking about the power of our vote. Senator Cory Booker, Rashad Robinson, Brittany Packnett, Hill Harper. That's the kind of stuff. Stewart speakers. We had Susan Taylor, Michael Eric Dyson. Folks, there is no other black digital platform doing anything like this. Nobody. Take your time and think about it. Nobody. That's why we matter. So please support us. So I would love to mention 200 of you on Monday who should join our Bring the Funk fan club. Again, go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. All right, folks, I got to go. Don't forget, midnight, we're going to have some fun. It's just going to be all about fun. Y'all, I ain't trying to be the DJ. I just love music. And so we're going to have a little fun with Club Brown Liquor. Even D Nice and Lonnie Love was with us last night. So check us out at midnight. All right, y'all, I got to go. I'll see y'all on Monday. Oh, hold up. Don't forget, Sunday special. I'm going to be broadcasting with Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. We're going to be doing an hour special encouraging a Zoom discussion Sunday from 5 to 6 or 5 to 6:30, encouraging folks to vote in Ohio. The primary is on Tuesday. And so Shirley Murdoch is going to be with us, Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. Hopefully my man John Legend is going to be with us. And so that's going to be on Sunday. Again, something else we do. Y'all know how we do it. Okay, now I got to go. Roll those names. Howard!